Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Tokwa Ask Us Anything. Has anyone got any news or any comments? Share price has been all over the place. That could be a good place to start or end. Anyone got some news? No. All right. Oh, yes, Carmen does. Or Carmen's just saying hello. Hi, Carmen. All right, well, I did start with Tesla share price. It obviously hit a low of, I think it was nearly $620 or just under, I think $619.50. Which obviously, if you've got a margin loan on those shares, you might be a little bit uncomfortable. But as many have said, Tesla share price is fairly volatile, and it's sort of proving just that. I think the consensus, without Pete's wise advice, has got something to do with the fact that the 10-year Treasury bond rates have gone up a little bit, which is basically a long-term indicator of future good economic growth. Well, at least according to the Treasury bond rate. And then what happens is investors start shifting sectors. So they're sort of shifting away from the high growth technology sectors to the lower growth, more traditional companies that have been suffering lately, but now look like they might be sort of recovering slightly. So that's most of the theory behind that. So I guess the only lesson there is, if you're a shareholder, don't panic unless you want to do some day trading and play the
buy.
But yes, it's a great buying opportunity. Imagine those that thought that Tesla would be languishing in the high 800s and thought, well, I'll put a buy price in, buy order at 500 and I've got no chance, even at maybe 650, there's sort of no chance. Well, they had their chance last night. It literally went down to $620. And oh, Cohen, you got to unmute. You got to unmute. We can't hear you. I got a feeling that someone might have bought some shares, which is a very good thing. Right. Excellent.
I mean, all the other shares on the stock market dipped as well.
Yes.
I mean, you've just got to look at Neo, Xpeng, and all the other ones. They've all gone down.
Yes. Yeah. Any of the high growth stocks have really suffered. Or should I say they had a lot of volatility, because I mean, Tesla, even though it hit a low of $620, it actually ended at $698. So it basically swung or grew $80 or more than 10% from its low. So, it's huge volatility, which again, if you're a savvy day trader, you can make a pretty penny or some more.
It's over 717 at this point in time.
Yes.
Is that? Oh, I should have bought more.
Yes. Well, and of course we don't ever give any financial advice, but we are, well, obviously most of us are, well, all of us here are long on Tesla because we enjoy their product, and I guess we're more tuned into what they're doing and their future products and future plans, which most analysts just don't comprehend or understand or believe in. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think following that, was it Lucid that are looking at, they've partially done an offering, which I think valued them at some dozens of billions of dollars.
They're doing a SPAC, a reverse merger, aren't they?
Yes. So
they said they wouldn't.
Right. Well, it's always good to pivot. A lot of people say never. Well, you never say never, do you? So what is a SPAC there, Nigel?
It's where a company that's already trading on the stock market, they join forces. So they then join that one, and then they're trading rather than go through the usual rigmarole of applying and having all their books vetted and so on.
So it's like a backdoor listing. So you just
it's a backdoor, yeah.
You get a shell company and you just basically just merge with that, and there you are. Cool.
Basically, yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that was quite volatile yesterday as well, last night.
Look,
So we'll see
even
what happens.
Bitcoin dropped.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did. Yeah, I noticed that.
A lot.
And
It's
people,
under 51,000 US now.
yes, and I think it was touching 60, wasn't it? At its highs, I think.
It was 60 something, yeah.
Again, that's volatile. I think Tesla bought in at about 36,000 on average, people think. I don't think Tesla's actually announced what they bought in at, but they're clearly still in the black as far as that's concerned. So that's sort of interesting. Actually, one thing that was interesting was there were a few tweets of videos. There was one in particular which we retweeted as a club, showing a new Model S. It was in factory mode, so presumably that was recorded at the factory in Fremont, sporting a round steering wheel, which is sort of quite interesting. And news that I had heard was that the NHTSA hasn't yet declared the steering yoke as legal in the States yet, but they haven't said they're not going to. They've just sort of not said they are going, well, they have done it yet. So it looks like Tesla's hedging their bets there and are producing some cars, and their test cars have conventional round steering wheels.
I think
Harold, do you know if the Model S is going to be available? Well, put this another way, the website's basically saying the Model S is not going to be available till 2022 in Australia. So does that essentially mean that there are really no Model S's available for sale? Precisely. I noticed on carsales.com there's a whole pile of Model S's as new cars, but there's no inventory shown on any of the Tesla websites. So you can probably.
I think they are actually factory listings. So I think Tesla listing car sales like all the other manufacturers do. But the problem is, well, there's none available. Like and there will not be until 2022, and that could be anywhere from January 2022 to December 2022.
Yeah, well, I got on to seriously wanted to order a vehicle 2 weeks ago, and the new Model S, new shape, new steering wheel, the mileage, the existing model is 722 k's rated, whereas the new one, I think it was 684, 660 or something. I thought, well, why would I buy a new car if I don't get the same sort of,
Yes, I think the issue there is that the current Model S, all the specs are US based specifications, which their mileage is based on the EPA rating system, whereas ours is on on NEDC. So, and NEDC is shockingly inaccurate and overestimates dramatically what range you'll actually get. So I think for the S, from memory, it was 620.
Yeah, whatever it was, yeah.
Yeah, and now they're quoting, is it 500 and something for the S? I think it's, actually they're saying 663. So I'll just share that up there. Yeah, so they're saying 663, and I think it was actually more. It may have been 680 for the previous version S, but I think this is because this is closer to the EPA rating, and they are closer to real life. But there has been
long range was 722 or something like that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, but I think what's happened is the actual range hasn't really changed a lot. Actually, it's just that they're showing a more truer representation on the Australian website. But I think once they actually become available in Australia, and if they still get away with using NEDC, which I don't know if they will, because maybe it's sufficiently different change that they might have to do the WLTP, which is what Europe and Australia uses. And that's that's not as pessimistic as the EPA, but it's getting closer. because, you know, there's nothing worse than being told, you know, 700 Ks and you only get 550, because it's sort of disappointing. And, you know, we've got Model X members that are disappointed with what they were told, you know.
I know one that was.
Oh, well, not just myself. Oh no, that's on an old car. I mean, even on a Raven Model X, where, you know, they're quoting numbers that you just don't get on the highway in Australia, you know, nowhere near. Or at least, you know, you might be 100 Ks off the theoretical range they tell you, which is sort of okay if you know beforehand. But if you sort of don't and you just take it on face value, I guess it sort of leads to some disappointment, you know, for those long trips.
I think you've got to take all those figures and take about 1/5 or 1/6 off to get your real world. I mean, it's the same when you go and buy one of those ice cars and they go, does 5.7 litres per 100 K, but only downhill with the wind behind you. You'd be lucky to get 6.5 litres per 100 K most of the time.
Yeah, that's right. That is dead right. I guess it's just that on an EV where there's limited charging facilities, you're kind of acutely aware of that reduction. Whereas obviously if you're in an ICE car, you just go to the next petrol station, which is, you know, there's probably 30 between
next door.
Yeah, there's probably 30 between here and Mandurah, and that's probably not even trying. But
It wasn't one day when I reached Ravensthorpe, but not a drain in my old Lexus, and every one of the petrol stations in town were out of fuel.
Oh,
Every one of them.
See, if you had an EV, you could have plugged into a power point.
Yeah,
Anywhere.
that was prior to EV. Can I make an observation on? I know it's off the topic yet, but
Yes.
I read something a couple of weeks ago about a guy that just picked up his new Model 3, and he was in town going to work. Had the car into reverse. He reversed into his wife, who was
Yes.
pinned against the wall. Ended up in Royal Perth Hospital, etc., etc. Now, one of the, and I tested this yesterday with my Model S, is that if you open up the driver's door while you're in drive, it'll automatically flick to park. Yep.
Oh,
However,
well, actually,
however, if you get out the passenger side, it doesn't flick to park. It's only the driver's side that activates it. So.
yes, so Pete and I did some extensive testing late last week.
Okay.
And we did a whole lot of different scenarios where I was pretending to be the passenger. Well, sorry, I was the passenger, and I jump out while the car. So what the situation we believe happened is this car was reversing into a carport, or into, let's call it a garage with a back wall, or well, it was backing up against a wall or towards a wall, and passenger gets out, opens the boot, and then the plausible scenario, without knowing exactly, but the plausible scenario is that while the boot was open and the passenger was at the back, between the wall and the car, the driver gets out while the car is in reverse and takes a foot off the brake, but the brake wasn't applied hard. So it's not on hold, it's just on creep going backwards. So if you then get out quite quickly, so if you open your door and get out, we've done tests where the car will go back by about 1 meter before it stops, and it always does stop. It stops from as close as about 0.5 meter to as far as about 1.8 meters, depending on the scenario, depending on whether you just simply open the door and take your foot off the brake.
I thought it switched to park automatically straight away.
Well, it does, but it does that in up to 1.8 meters of distance, depending on how you took your foot off the, like if, I think the furthest it would go is if you basically took the foot off the brake and jumped out of the car. We measured it up to 1.8 meters in travel before it stopped by itself, and it will always stop. Now, of course, the biggest problem is if the garage, if the wall and your bumper is, say, in most cases, probably half a meter apart, and you're in between that gap, then it's a lot harder for the car to stop in time before it's already made contact with you or your passenger and the wall. And then I guess what exacerbates it then is when the car actually does stop, what it does is it puts the park brake on, which means that when it was creeping, it's sort of pushing a constant force onto you. And when it puts the park brake on, that force doesn't really abate because the car's not moving, because you're already sort of like deforming a little bit and you know, relieving that sort of stress. So the issue isn't that the car won't stop, it's that it doesn't stop instantaneously. And I guess one suggestion that we would have for Tesla as a feature request would be that, particularly in reverse, see in drive, it's different because in drive, you're naturally seeing what's in front of you, even if you're not really looking that hard. But in reverse, it's a completely different situation. There's a couple of, and we also did things like I tried deliberately presenting my hand up towards the ultrasonic sensors, and it didn't make any difference. So even though we know the sensors were picking up objects, it still wouldn't stop to avoid colliding with them, except for after between, say, half a meter and 1.8 meters. So one feature request would be, if you're in reverse and you've had your foot on the brake lightly, if you crack open your door, then it should instantly go to hold. It doesn't have to go to handbrake, but it should go to your brake hold condition, which means that creep stops, the car stays in place with its foot on the brake, effectively, not on the handbrake, but on the main brake. The car does that. And then nothing happens until you blip the accelerator again. So it won't continue creeping backwards if while you've got the foot on the brake, you open the door. So that would be a good point. Then perhaps in reverse, it should be perhaps a bit more sensitive that when you take your foot off the brake, but you're not on the accelerator, perhaps it might be more inclined, at least the first time, if it detects something in the back, that it just also goes into hold mode and requests that you sort of acknowledge by pressing the accelerator. I mean,
so does having creep on make any difference to that scenario?
Yes, so creep is what sort of, in one sense, well, it didn't cause the scenario, but it exacerbated it, because the intention of creep is that while your foot's off the brake and it's not in a hold condition, it will just keep creeping at a very light rate. It's only I don't know, whatever the force. It's a little bit like what automatics do in an ICE car. And creep is a good feature because it allows you to do very precise slow speed maneuvers where you're basically just feathering the brake as opposed to trying to blip the accelerator and then the brake. But in this case, unfortunately, it basically caused, it augmented that situation. We also tried a scenario where, let's just say the driver had simply forgotten that the car was in reverse and had just taken his foot off, their foot off the brake while in reverse. And again, it will just keep on going forever. So I've got video of me sort of like not pushing against the car, but waving against the sensors, and it would just keep going backwards forever until you actually put your foot on the brake. That's provided you haven't gotten out of the car. So yeah, if you just simply jumped out of the car while you had your foot on the brake lightly, it will stop. But like I said, it can take up to 1.8 meters for it to do that.
So this comes down to driver error, doesn't it?
Yes, there's no doubt that there's a driver error. And, look, and I've seen videos of drivers in ICE cars with keys and they just forget and they leave the ignition on and it's still in reverse. And I've seen it, rip a side door off in a car park and, where people get stressed and whatever. So I guess one comment is that people will say, well, the Tesla hasn't got an off button. Well, in a sense, the park button on the stalk is sort of like an off button. because once the car's in park, it's effectively off. Or at
Mhm.
least when it's in park, it's not going to move anymore, which is the equivalent of turning off the engine. So
I've got a question for Rob and probably Richard. I've got the same model as mine. I was reversing up probably 30, 40 meters up my driveway, and I didn't have a seatbelt on, and it stopped, wouldn't go. And then I try again, and it'd go for another few meters and stop again. And it wasn't until I put my seatbelt on that I could reverse all the way up. I don't know whether that's a feature or whether it was just.
When you were reversing up, were you turning your head? Were you turning your whole body to look behind you, or doing it like that?
No, I just using my mirrors and my camera, reverse camera.
Okay, so because if you do lift your backside off the seat a bit, it will stop. But if you're using your cameras and your mirrors, you should be in the seat squarely.
Even if you get your seatbelt on or not.
Okay, I'll try that tomorrow because I've never tried that.
As a data point, I've had the same thing. If you don't have your seatbelt on, the car will stop periodically.
I've never had that, but then I've never tried it, you know, for a big long run. So
Okay, that's a good good thing though. You should wear your seatbelt.
True.
So
Yeah, cool.
I've had a bit of a similar situation where I was trying to line up my rear wheel to back up onto a slab. This is when I was changing tyre, but to open, as soon as I opened the door to have a look, it just locked up. It puts itself into park. So that's a Model 3.
Yep.
This sort of goes back to what you were talking about, Harold.
yes, but it does it within about, you know, a
Thanks, Steve.
second or so or whatever.
Oh, as soon as I opened the door, bang.
Okay, but was your car, did it have creep mode or did it have
No, I've got hold.
Hold.
So yeah, and I was just wanting to reverse, sort of slowly, but I needed to eyeball it out the door, and as soon as I tried doing that, it stopped me.
So if you then put it back into reverse and touch the accelerator while your door is still open, it probably will actually then resume.
Okay, yeah, I didn't try that. No.
I mean, as another data point, for instance, I had my boot slightly open because I couldn't close it today. And it sort of warns you and does all sorts of stuff, but eventually it sort of gives up and accepts that you're just going to continue driving. But it has given you a big warning, obviously, that there's something going on.
Yep.
Any comments on the new update? Software update?
I haven't had one.
Mine changed a lot of the Model 3 displays changed, and the Model S did today as well. A bit
Which
better,
updates that, Martin?
It was actually called a 2020.
2020.
I'll get it for you.
37.1.
yeah, that's it was 4837 one.
I was going to say 2021.4.6.
Yeah, that's what I've got, Harold,
No, that's
on my Model 3.
I
it
love
was
the new
48.
layout on the design.
Yeah, the
It's
Model
great.
S was 2020 4837.
Yep.
And
Oh, right. That's an old one. I mean,
the
it's
Model
new,
3,
but
that
it's
was
old.
updated today.
Yeah,
The
right.
Model 3 is 2020 4835.
That's what I've got.
But yeah, for AP1 cars, yeah, I thought that the font was much nicer, and I like that I don't know, I just prefer the layout of it now. It makes a lot more sense, I think.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so Martin, I think
Yeah.
what your S got was what the AP2 cars got, last year, which was they
Yeah.
fixed the miniature speed limit signs and all that sort of stuff and speed font. But there's been a further.
Some of the displays on the left hand side rather than the right hand side. When you put into reverse and drive, it's on the left hand side now, and also the autopilot switch to the left hand side instead of right. So
Yes.
I think it's a bit better.
Yes, yeah, and the theory there is that they're sort of cleaning up the binnacle so that it can better display the full self-driving visualizations for cars that can do that. So they're sort of, you notice that there's more stuff at the top. So there's not that you don't have the speed limit sign drooping down towards the center of the binnacle. They're trying to basically free up that area for more interesting visualizations. But the newer cars, I don't know about if it's MCU2, they got an update, which was the 2021.4.5, I think it was, which seemed to have fixed up the bad visibility on the or nighttime visibility on your rear view camera.
Oh, it's terrible.
It was really dark. So
Oh,
so the 2021 version has cleaned that up. So it's a lot, well, brighter, for lack of a better term. There's more contrast. So I don't know if you've got that in yours yet, Martin, with that version.
No.
I don't think so. It would be the
No.
2021 version, but that's been cleaned up. So
I was
yeah,
trying to
it's-
reverse in the rain the other day, and it was just terrible. Couldn't see a thing.
Yep. Yeah, indeed. All right. Has anyone got any other news or comments or queries?
Any comment on the showroom, the service centre?
Yeah, I was in there yesterday. And it's plenty of room, looks nice and neat. They got world's biggest ceiling fans.
Australia that Australian news will soon reappear.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. You mean that's in the actual, not the showroom, in the service centre itself? They've got those big rotary sort of helicopter
Yeah.
fans. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
The roof gets heavy, they can just lift it. It's awesome. Yeah, my
I
car,
was there. Sorry, go on.
I got a call from Adam today. They're trying to fix up my glitchy autopilot problem. And
Oh yeah.
so I thought, how am I going to, had it booked in for service at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I said to them, I went in the day before, I said, this isn't going to work because it's rare that it glitches, you see. I said, what I'll do is if it's a hot day, I'll leave it out and then I'll take it for a long run and see if I can get it to glitch. So I left it out in the sun for 4 hours. And it was interesting because my cabin overheat protection must be working again because it was 38 outside and it was 37 in the car. So that was nice. That hasn't been working in our Model 3s.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I took it in and I started going up, put on the freeway from Vincent Street, turned on autopilot, and nearly ripped me across the centre line straight
Ooh.
away. So, you beauty.
Awesome.
Took it in, left it with them. Anyway, Adam rang me today and he said, yeah, they got it to glitch and they've sent all the stuff to America. Oh, and this is just, overnight. And they're going to put a new computer in it.
Wow.
Wow.
That's interesting. I hope that worked because it's already on. This is its third.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I
Third
had,
computer.
yeah, well, the second one, there was the first one I destroyed myself. I told you about that with my that dent repaired. But anyway, that's another story. So hopefully it'll work, but I'm a little bit concerned that it might not. At least they're trying to look after me, so that's good.
Yeah, you always wonder if it's a second computer that they've already changed, presuming, I mean, the first one was perfectly all right. The second one was probably perfectly all right. For them to change that to a third one, maybe it's something else.
Yeah, well, we'll see. They're going to put a new computer in. We'll see what happens, and they had one in stock, so that's nice.
Yeah, cool. That's interesting.
So
Maybe it was a setup or calibration or configuration issue that was wrong at the start.
yeah, I don't
When it
know.
was installed. I don't know. Yeah.
Right, they'll do it again. If it doesn't work, I'll take it back again. That's really annoying. I like
Sucks, yeah.
And you obviously, so was Adam in the, what I'd call a delivery portion, that small rectangular building?
he was on as you drive in, he's on the left rather than the showroom in front. Yeah, he was
Yes.
meant to ring his bell, then he turned up from somewhere. I couldn't find his bell, so
Yeah,
and I walked in there.
It's a greenhouse.
Yeah, it's bloody warm.
Yeah. At 8 o'clock, in the morning, it was stinking hot in there, and no one's fitted in the air conditioning for him.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how he's going to do that. So anyway,
that's
So what-
interesting, because that was going to be the delivery section, but obviously it's been taken over for service receivals.
don't know. It's just to open. There's just one desk in there, nothing else. So
Have they got any cars to deliver at the moment? Probably
Very
not.
few.
They're
there's a
over
couple
at Port Kembla.
There's a couple. I walked in the showroom, and it was 5 to 8, and the guy promptly kicked me out. Says we're not open yet. So anyway, but that was fine. So I
That
walked
was
in the
Josh.
workshop, and they said, "Well, you can't come in here because it's dangerous." Oh, okay.
Harold, this G. O'Driscoll, he's typed in a question regarding a
apologies.
Model S, dual chargers and extension cable or something, which I think we should answer for him. There he
Yes.
is.
Hello, and hello, Richard. And my teeth are very good. Thank you very much. Nice to see you again.
So is that Greg or there's G?
This is G. Hello.
Oh, cool. Okay. So your name's G. Sorry, I just.
No. My name is Jerry. So I just.
Oh, Jerry. Cool. No worries, Jerry.
And Richard was my dentist until he retired recently. So it's interesting to see him here. Yes.
So yeah, sorry,
Okay,
you're
so-
asking. So to avoid me reading out this thing online, you can just ask the question yourself if you like.
Yeah, so I've had the Model S for pushing on 6 years now, but haven't had enough time to take the thing traveling. And when it was delivered, I had the charger that comes at the house, but which turns out is I'm on a 3-phase house with a single-phase charger.
Yes.
And that's worked perfectly fine. And recently I've gone down to Dunsborough, where there was a destination charger, which is charging way faster than the thing that I have at home, because it looks like it's a Porsche 3-phase charger at the Bunker Bay place. So my question is, should I pull out the single-phase Tesla charger that came with the car 5.5 years ago and put in 3-phase one? I've already put in the is it CCS?
CCS adapter. Yep.
Yeah, so I've done that. And then the last thing was I haven't put in the dual charger 3-phase thing, which with my car, I think takes you from 11 to 22.
Yep.
Because I assumed it was just when I'm plugging into 3-phase power on a farm or something, rather than a 3-phase
no.
or any other thing. So I don't know. Well,
Okay, so first thing is the single-phase charger you got at home. Obviously, you'd mostly be charging at home overnight. So you sort of get home, you plug in, in the afternoon, and then you wake up in the morning, unplug. So for that use case, there's absolutely no need to change your HPWC. It's one you got freely at the time, and there's no point paying another $780 to get a 3-phase one in that use case.
As long as the single phase is on a decent size breaker. If it's only on like a 16 amp breaker or a 10 amp breaker, then it's worth upgrading that rather than the charger, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm getting like 20 something kilometers per hour charge sort of thing on it, and I'm looking at getting a second EV as well.
Okay, so
and we are on solar panels, so I don't know how much I'm charging in the daytime on solar versus paying the man overnight.
So if you're charging on solar, obviously you actually want less incoming power to your car than that, which you can just dial down. So the way you can tell what your HPWC is set up to is when you're charging, just look into your car and it'll tell you on the charging screen, it'll tell you how many amps it's drawing. So if you're saying it's about 20 kilometers an hour, it sounds like it's putting in about 20 amps roughly on a Model S. That's the rough figure. So perhaps the electrician has set it up on a 20 amp circuit breaker and he's set the rotary switch in the charger for that. But basically for overnight charging, it's fine. For solar charging, it's again completely fine. Again, if you want to get another EV, would that be another Tesla or some other brand of car?
No, probably a Tesla.
Yeah, cool. So again, it depends on if it's a second car, how many, whether you need to charge your car you wouldn't need to charge it every night, so you can just alternate. But then you might want to have a charger on either side of your garage so the two cars can equally charge. So then you can always get a charger then, or just swap sides or whatever.
Harold, I've got a 2015 Model S, and I've got one of the older chargers, wall chargers, and I'm getting 32 all the time.
Single phase, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but
and I've got with the Model 3. My wife just plugs it into the 10 amp. I can't, because of my garage configuration, I can't put the other charger in that I already have. So we either swap over or she just plugs it into the 10 amp overnight, and it's fine. It's not an issue. I was thinking about going to the 22 onboard charger, but I haven't been able to justify it.
Yes, so Jerry, with that, if you plug into any Type 2 charger, whether it's a Tesla one or a non-Tesla Type 2, if it's untethered, which means it hasn't got a cable, then you need to have with you a Type 2 cable, which you can borrow for free from the club for a road trip. So in either of those cases, whether it's a 3-phase HPWC fully rated one and a fully rated 3-phase EVSE, a Type 2 EVSE, and EVSE just stands for electric vehicle service equipment, just a car charger. The difference between the 11 kilowatts and the 22 kilowatts is the 11 will get you approximately 50 kilometers of range per hour while you're charging, and the 22 kilowatt version, the dual charger that the older cars can have, will get you approximately 100 kilometers of range per hour. Now that's only really useful to you if, well, okay, let's say if you're at a shopping center and you want to get a bit, you can get twice as much charge in the half hour that you're there. But you know, I don't know how much a second charger costs. I think it's $2.5 grand, $3 grand, something like that.
Yeah, $3,500.
So again, Rob?
$3,500.
$3.5 grand. So if you're doing that to get a little bit more free juice or some more free juice quicker, it's just not worth it. No. If you're going to do lots of up north road trips, then obviously it is worth it because you're going to spend half the time on the side of the road than you ordinarily would during the day. Again, overnight makes no difference. So, you know, so Rob,
can I just chip in here? Because I did do the same as Rob. I also did the, I think it was $3 grand at the time, and did the dual charger upgrade. So got 22 kilowatt charging. Now at the time, I knew that we had an Esperance trip coming up, and at the time there was only the 22 kilowatt charger at Lake Grace. So the difference meant that we could drive to Lake Grace, charge for 4.5 hours, which sucked, but at least we could do it in one hit and then drive all the way to Esperance and then back again, you know, 3 days later. So otherwise that would have meant staying overnight at Lake Grace, losing a day of our trip, getting there and then having to come back the next day and then do the reverse. I think it also helps. Oh, it's helped in a few locations, but yeah, exactly as Harold said, it's very much dependent on what's important for you and the kind of trips that you want to do. I think it was worth it. It is very expensive, but yeah, I think the most I've got is, I think 120 k's an hour on 22 kilowatt. And that was at somewhere that had loads of solar, and it was really, the voltage was really cranking high. That was in Kalgoorlie, I think. So, you know, so we like to do lots of road trips, as many as we can. And I've found that it's been worthwhile. But yeah, with more DC chargers getting you everywhere, it might not be worth it for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Glenn, can I ask you a question? Jerry?
Yeah.
You've got a single phase charger at home. Do not get rid of that. It's far more reliable than the 3-phase ones.
Oh.
All right. So it's just not worth it to change it. The electricians probably put it on 20 amps because that's all's available in your house. That's all that's left. Right. So 20 kilometers an hour is plenty overnight. And as Richard said, unless you're planning to do many long distance trips, don't worry about the second charger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. You saved me a fortune. Thank you.
Yeah, just spend on coffee and take a bit longer.
Well, one other thing, Jerry, on your home charging, have you considered looking at a Zappi charger?
No.
So that you can use your excess solar during the day. So I don't have a Zappi charger, but I bought when we were getting solar put on the house, Solar Edge do an inverter that's also a car charger. It's a combo all in one. But essentially, it's doing the same thing as what the Zappi does, and what it will do is, essentially, rather than sending the power to the grid, the excess solar power after it's powered your house, it will put it into the car, and I've found a dramatic increase in the, that just the fact that it matches exactly what you would be exporting to, to your car. The fact that it's variable just seems to mean that just so much power goes into the car, and we pretty much now through the summer only ever charge for free off the solar.
So do you replace the charger that came with the Tesla with the Zappi then? Is that what you do?
I probably wouldn't. I'd probably have both, as the other guys are maybe saying. Well, I mean, look, that depends on you. If you're going to be getting a second Tesla, I mean, again, it depends completely on what works for you guys. But the Zappi is also about $2,000, I think now. So,
this is what it can do. This is what something like a Zappi can do. So in the green area is where it's actually charging the battery of it's a solar battery. But what it then does is once that's finished, all of this yellow area is basically energy diverting into the car. And then something like a Zappi will then match that down as the slope goes, the normal distribution goes down until it finally disconnects once it gets to the threshold of roughly 1500 watts. And then it will, just carry on. So comparing that where the car was plugged in, that was yesterday. Today, the car wasn't plugged in. So then all of this gray area is basically going to the grid because the house isn't using it. So that's without the car plugged in. So all of this area here is power going to the grid. And the day before, there's virtually no power going to the grid, very little.
It looks like you got a Fronius. So I've got a 5-6 kilowatt thing, and I'm going to go up to 10 or 12 or something, and it looks like Fronius. And then you've got the Zappi on top of that. Is that right?
Well, that charger that's at my place isn't actually a Zappi, but the Zappi would do the same thing. So yeah, so if you got a Zappi, you could basically expect very similar results.
That's if your car's at home when the sun's up.
True. Yeah, that's the most important thing to note.
That's the caveat. That's the absolute caveat. But that's what Jerry sort of mentioned earlier was charging on solar, which presumably is during the daytime. Yes, but that's exactly right. You have to have that lifestyle, or your car has to be there to get those electrons when they're made, because they can't be stored for any length of time.
Jerry, before you go, I've got another question for you.
Where are you?
I think you said you got a 215 Model S. Have you replaced your MCU yet?
Well, actually, I was driving up from Dunsborough on the weekend, and everything died. So the screen went off, the indicators went off, the air conditioning went off, and I had a notification from them a week or two ago. And I posted it on the Top Car website. It's kind of frustrating now that maybe I'm too old. I'm used to picking up the phone and talking to people, but there's nobody to call. And I've posted a few times that I've tried to organize mobile service, which hasn't worked for years. Looked like it worked for about a month ago. Now I've said, hey, I'm getting the black screen of death, which is what I used to get with Microsoft for years, and I've moved to Mac. No reply, no nothing. I need to upgrade to that, because the thing is,
Jerry, it's a warranty issue now, thanks to Harold. So that's replaced for free.
Right. But how do I
do? You need to go through the app first.
Huh?
So if you can't use the app, ring the Sydney number and they'll put you through to service.
Right.
Okay. And I had mine done on Monday. Takes a couple of hours and it's under warranty.
I see. Okay.
And Rob, it wasn't me, it was the club. So Tokwa sent a letter many moons ago about that issue. So yeah, it definitely wasn't me. I've got no influence. It was definitely the club. But they will fix it for free Jerry, and
No, it's a communication thing.
yeah, unfortunately, they're buggers. They will insist to the death that you use your app, the whole
Yeah.
app, and nothing but the app, and virtually nothing else works except for the app. So all you have to do is you open your app, you put in your address. I think now it actually does say Osborne Park, but you can initially book a mobile.
No, you can't. I've posted like 20 minutes ago, probably. I've tried, and I've been talking to Adam at Nedlands Cemetery.
He's moved up in the world. He's now in Osborne Park.
Well, good on him, but his system still doesn't fucking work. So,
really thinking.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was dealing with him for weeks. Said, "Come on, man! Like, what's going on?" And he said, "No, it's in our zone." And then I went out there and I got tires changed about 2 weeks ago. And said, "Ah, sorry, I stuffed up. I didn't set up the logistics properly." And now it's not working again. So the only thing I've put in 3 nights ago is, I have to drive out to Scarborough. And I've written to them 3 times, no replies, nothing, no phone numbers, nothing. I'm probably going to have to drive over there and maybe drive through the window. I don't know, to get a response, because it's kind of frustrating.
Yes.
It's not as bad as BMW, that's for sure. But anyway, yeah.
Jerry, I've got another question. Have you got any screen at all? Does your touch screen work at all at the moment?
Oh yeah. So I was driving up from Dunsborough the other day, and everything went black, and the air conditioning went off. The indicators worked, but there was no noise, and I can't remember what else. So we decided to pull over for a little bit, and maybe about 10 minutes later, things fired up, and it's working as per normal now, except for the audiovisual entertainment stuff. Nothing is upgrading. So the car is drivable, the cameras are on, the maps are working.
Yeah.
And
what you need to do is you need to go to your car now, and you need to take it out of time charging. If you've got it in time charging, take it out.
Right.
So that means if your screen goes black, you can still charge your car.
Okay.
Anytime. If your music fails, your indicators still work on the outside, but sometimes they won't show up on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to escalate that with Tesla. Harold, can we sort this out?
Yes.
This is pretty poor service.
There was one other crazy thing, though, and I had this sort of circular, bizarre conversation with the guys when I went to have the car serviced. I needed servicing, so I took it in about a month ago. And every time that I was in the car and I was listening to a podcast, and it was podcast, it wasn't the radio, and I put it into reverse. The podcast went back about 30, 60 seconds kind of thing, which had never happened before. And it's only since a recent software upgrade. And then they said, no, that's normal, because when it goes in, it breaks the circuit and there's something that has to happen in the background. And I thought, well, this never happened in the last 5.5 years, so I don't know why the hell is happening now. So something that needs to happen when you hit the park brake. I listened to Norman Swan Health Report or something. I was back 60 seconds, listening to the thing again. Then when you're trying to reverse into a parking bay and you're going forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards, everything was doing that, and none of the podcasts subsequently were updating. And the guy in the cemetery place, whatever it was called, said, yeah. Now we've been on to Tesla in the US, and that's what happens. Thought, well, shit, it's never happened for 6 years, so I don't know why it's happening now. And maybe it's all tied up the same stupid chip nonsense that we're dealing with at the moment. I don't know.
Not necessarily, because Ken had an interesting occurrence on his car, which is different, but you could say it's somewhat related. is that he'd be driving along, and in fact, I don't know if Ken, if you're up, if you want to describe it, or no, that's cool. I can do it. So basically, you'd be driving along, and you know how you've got your little rotary dial on your stalk for autopilot for following distance, and there was something wrong with that stalk switch, so it would just randomly sort of like flick over and change the follow distance from 1 to 5 and back, you know, rapidly.
Yeah.
When he had his new computer fitted, it would then sort of chuck a wobbly and basically disengage. So it took him a lot of convincing to Tesla to actually fix the switch. So one thing I was wondering was, if you're going in reverse, that's one stalk. Now that's got nothing to do with your forward or back or whatever buttons on your audio system. But I wonder if there's something to do with the loom, because it's also jiggling in the steering column. So, for example, Ken actually got his entire column changed because the wiring loom was slightly different for the new selector of the new stalks. So you might have to press on them that if there's no one else that you know that has that same problem in a similar aged car, so similar series car, you might need to press on them that perhaps it's a physical thing with the actual wiring loom, and that's causing the forward or back button to be inadvertently detected as being depressed while you're doing the backwards gear lever change. Unfortunately, Tesla, you virtually have to prove exactly what the part is that's wrong on some of those obscure sort of issues before they'll actually, dare I say, do something about it.
Just the use case here is interesting. What you're describing sounds to me like a Wi-Fi to cellular switchover. When you're parked in the garage and you're on Wi-Fi, the car, as soon as you put it into gear, will switch from Wi-Fi to cellular. It used to do that on just once it lost range, but to solve some issues, they made it so as soon as you kick it into drive, it'll actually switch platforms. So that would definitely cause the problem, and that's not a new thing. I wonder whether previously you didn't have Wi-Fi where you were listening to it in the garage or something like that, so it was always on cellular. But that's certainly a possibility as well.
Yeah, but I think Jerry was describing in a shopping car park, so that wouldn't have Wi-Fi anyway.
No. So yeah, you're right. The settings between Wi-Fi and non-Wi-Fi stuff hasn't changed. There just seemed to be something in the last, I don't know, 3 to 6 months after some software upgrade or something. It works. I still the best car I've ever had, and the thing's working fine. We're sort of splitting hairs a bit here, really. It would be nice to be able to contact humans rather than the bloody app, because that's the environment I work in. But perhaps I'm a dinosaur.
You work
Jerry,
on, Jerry, you work on humans. You fixed me up.
Huh?
You worked on humans. You fixed me up.
And you fixed me up too, you know. So yeah, I know. But these other bastards don't seem to want to deal with humans. So yeah. Anyway, there's got to be somewhere around it.
Jerry, I think you must have parked in front of me in Dunsborough on the weekend. You got a blue Tesla?
Actually, yes, that was hilarious. So that was at Blue Manor, right?
Yeah,
yeah. And I came out and thought, Jesus, there's exactly the same car sitting.
It's replicated itself. It's had a baby.
I saw a great YouTube of someone trying to get into their Tesla and they just couldn't get in. All these problems, and they just got their key card. It just wasn't working. The phone wasn't working, and their car was right next door. Two white, both charging, and they picked the wrong one.
Yeah. Very nice restaurant too.
I did that with an ICE car where there were 2 cars identical. Well, one was identical to mine, and I went to the extent of sitting in it, and then suddenly I thought, this doesn't quite look right. And then this guy sort of ran up to me and goes, "Hey mate, what are you doing?" And I go, "Oh, sorry, my car's next door." And he sort of really freaked out. But it does happen.
But Jerry, I've had a few similar problems with my car, but it's mainly the radio. The radio will come on and frighten the absolute bejesus out of me. And then I'll turn the radio off before I get out of the car, and then I get back in later, and it'll be on the same channel on. I thought, oh, just frustrating. Just little things.
All right. Well, look, I've got a very needy couple of greyhounds here who need to be fed, so I'm going to have to run away and feed them.
Jerry, just before you go, that Dunsborough charger is very hard. You have to reverse in. You can't get an extension cable.
Actually, yeah, thank you very much for that. So it's there were two bays there, and one of them has been blacked out now, and the other one, but you have to go against the traffic to get into the thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So is there no such thing as an extension cable for the
No.
No. I see. Okay.
Yeah, I've had words with them down there, and it's very hard. You have to reverse in, which makes life very awkward because you're going against the traffic, as you say, and you've got to do it. It's like a 3 or 5 point turn to get in there, and then when you're going out, you've got to do the same.
And you can see that right there.
Jerry, I've been onto the council so many times. I've been in there. I've met with the guys. I've sent them emails, and just simply they've blocked off the wrong bay. Very simple.
The local shop owners there do not want any EV charging in that spot. They want it taken away.
That's fair enough. Totally agree.
See, that's the ideal spot where it should have been.
Yes.
Instead, they painted this one out and put that one there.
But the frustrating part is that they renovated that whole street. They dug up the whole street, put new landscaping in, and did nothing with the charges. Absolutely disgraceful.
Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but the Bunker Bay, what's called the Pullman Bunker Bay thing.
Oh yeah.
They've got a couple of trickle charges, but they've now put in a Porsche 3-phase thing that gives you 50 kilometers an hour charger bay there as well.
Where is Bunker Bay?
Dunsborough.
Just
up there.
West of Dunsborough. West of Dunsborough.
You go north.
It's a nice place to stay. Nice place to stay. The food's terrible, but a nice place to stay. But they do have a really decent charger there now. So it's a Type 2, gives you a 50 k's an hour thing. I think it's 3-phase 16 amp actually, and I'll need to look that up again.
It's interesting. It's not on PlugShare.
No, it's not. It's not on PlugShare. No.
Cool. Right.
It should be.
Well, anyone that goes there, obviously just put a post in on PlugShare, so that's easy to do. If you've got an account, you can just create a new location and you just describe.
All right.
it.
I'm heading down to Bustleton and Margaret River, I think Monday week, so I'll go and have a look and find it.
Yeah, Jerry, I've put a phone number for a human in the comments section for you.
Have you? Oh, cool.
Okay, that's the Sydney line. Give them a ring during the day, and they will contact Tesla Perth for you.
Great. Well, look, this has been an awfully interesting interaction for these kind of things. As I usually don't. Here I am with my rescue greyhound who wants to be fed at the moment, so he's taken precedence, and I know absolutely nothing about electricity, but awfully impressed with the Tuckwell website thing, and this has been awfully informative, much more than other Zoom meetings that I get afflicted with frequently.
You're welcome every week, except for next week, which actually I'll be sending out an email tomorrow because it'll be our Wednesday evening casual meetup. I think it's at the Guildford Hotel, if I remember rightly, but
the Rosemount.
Sorry, the Rosemount. Thanks, Ken. Sorry, the Rosemount. Guildford's like another month. So Rosemount Hotel next Wednesday, but
Oh,
every other Wednesday, it's Ask Us Anything at 7:30. And you're welcome to come back anytime you like. And we normally rock on for at least a few hours until we all go Betty Buys. And we also put this on YouTube. So if you want to search Tokwa as a YouTube channel, we've got recordings going back to last year. So if ever you sort of suffer from a bit of insomnia, you can just put one of our videos on and listen to our dulcet tones for the next 3 hours. And if that doesn't send you off to sleep, nothing will.
I'll try that with the dogs because they say.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thanks for coming.
Just on the Porsche angle. So I went past Swings and Roundabouts, and their one is in. Gallon and Natalia beat me there. They put this picture up, which is a cute little reflection. So they're massive, these things. They're like about 1 meter high by about half a meter wide. Big shiny mirror thing, and yeah, they work just fine once they turn them on. So it looks like the guys who commissioned them for Porsche went around and installed them and tested them and then switched them back off again. So we've been around a few of them and switched them on. And yeah, they are 11
the Bunkaway one works. The Bunkaway, I've been there twice now in the last 3-4 months or something. The Bunk Bay one works spot on.
Yeah, no, they're standard Type 2 16 amp 3-phase as far as I understand it.
Yeah.
At least looking at the weight of the cable, I'd be surprised if they're 32.
Well, mine charged at 11 kilowatts on Monday.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, 16 amp 3-phase.
One, yeah.
That's tuned up resort.
Yeah.
So yes. Ken, they put a vanity mirror on for Porsche drivers.
Yeah, that's right. And so I thought Gallon's photo with the reflection of his 3 in the mirror on PlugShare was kind of cool. But yeah, I meant to add Bunker Bay, but I didn't actually get out there when I was down there on the weekend. But I did go past that one at Swings and Roundabouts, and it's definitely functional. It's all good. And the one down at Cape Mentel is also working. So yeah, thanks Porsche. Good on you. I know they're watching.
Absolutely, Ferdinand himself from somewhere else. Speaking of charging, it's also great news that the RAC have finally enabled the ultra-fast DC chargers at Wellington Street on the ChargeFox app. So you can now actually charge these fully.
Thanks, Tim. I know Tim watches as well, and
yes.
He's your mate.
It was great because, they took out the 50 kilowatt fast DC charger back in November. So as to fit these 2 lovely 350 kilowatt units. And then they had them running at the start of January and only just connected them up to the network. But they're working.
Go back to that picture for a sec.
Yes.
I was wondering how come that Model X has got an exhaust pipe?
Oh, it's a 2-inch receiver. It's a tow.
Okay, cool.
It's for carrying tritium RTs around.
It is, because I know there's a photo of one of them at Lake Grace. Ugh, where's Lake Grace? There it is. It's for doing this. It's for carrying tritiums around.
Oh, wow.
And they only weigh 165 kilos. So what could possibly go wrong? So this entire thing is being lifted by the tow hitch, which is rated at 227 kilos.
Ah.
Yes.
And now it's at Geraldton.
And now it's not moving anymore. It's having a long break at Geraldton. So this is Tokwa's own charger at Geraldton in the harbour, serving the community of all EV, the whole EV community.
So how do you use that if you drive up there?
Okay, so what you do is on PlugShare, you read the instructions And as it says, you just activate using the NextCharge app.
All right.
Now, also, there's a please note. It says the CCS connector may show as being unavailable, but can still be activated by selecting it and pressing start charge on the app. So one issue is that this is a CCS only tritium. And what happens is on the CHAdeMO side, I had like some bubble wrap that I'd stuffed in there so that it would think that the CHAdeMO was still holstered. Because it thinks it's not, it's basically showing on the app as occupied because it thinks someone is already using it or they've grabbed it. So you just push through that and just hit start charge and it works. One of these days I'll make the short 850K return trip.
Can you write down a number for me?
Sorry, the number of?
That's Greg, I think. He's on, needs to mute.
Sorry.
That's Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah, cool. So yeah, one day I'll make the 850K return trip just to put something in that holster to stop it from doing that. But yeah, that's our charging report. So yeah, it's great to see that the ultra fast DC charger is working. And obviously a call out to anyone that's got a long range Model 3 or a performance Model 3 to go to Wellington Street on a low state of charge after a long drive, just to see what sort of charging rate you can get. The theoretical maximum should be about 200 kilowatts.
Yeah.
But none of us has seen anything like that yet. And I mean, we've got old cars, so we won't, but hopefully someone with a long range 3 or performance will.
I've got a quick report about my spare wheel saga.
Yes, Brian.
Yeah, so last week, I think it was Martin assured me that the clearance on between the rim and the rear calipers was fine. So I went to bed sort of quite comfortable that night thinking, oh, well, it's all over. I'll do that. And I was thinking, well, hang on, there's some weights inside that rim. Are they going to hit? So the next morning I went back to my unit and threaded the thing on because it is a thread. It's very hard to get the 15-inch holes onto a 15 mil hole onto a 14 mil stud. So I got it on and I moved the weights around and clearly it was going to hit. So I gave up at that point and I returned the wheel and I've got my refund. And that weekend, a couple of rims popped up on Facebook Marketplace. A guy in Tasmania was getting rid of them. So I grabbed both of them and Peter Petrovsky's taken one. So it was a good deal, excellent deal actually. So
Cool.
yeah, so a good story in the end, but gee, it was a long drawn out saga and I've learned a lot. So just working on the fact that a website says these rims are okay for a Model 3, that's not enough. Make sure they give you the right stud pattern on the first one for a start, but then consider the nuts or the lugs. Are they going to fit? The ones off the Tesla, and the ROH Monaco rim they gave me, it wouldn't fit. And the hub size was different too. So it was just a series of errors. So I've learned a lot, but now I'm stuck with a genuine Tesla Model 3 rim and I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, that's a very sage advice there. Not all websites are created equal. And I dare say because Tesla's not as well known here as say in the States, I guess those mistakes are easy to be made.
Pretty was. The guy he wasn't apologetic, but he acknowledged it was going to be real hard to find something that ticked all of the boxes to get onto a Model 3. But in the end, I've ended up with a genuine, probably less than what I was going to pay for this this very much compromised spare tire, spare wheel.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I think Peter Petrovsky's happy too, so it's good.
Excellent. Well, that's what we love to hear.
Yeah.
Cool. So any other experiences or anything?
Model 3. So it appears as if the next lot of deliveries for Model 3 will be 17th to 26th of March. for the perf ones. That seems to be a few people have been saying that. The boat that arrived in Sydney the other day is only the first one. I think there's more than 800 cars on that.
Mm.
There's another boat arriving on Sunday into Sydney, which is very impressive that there's so many cars coming in still.
Yes, it's the big wave of made in China Model 3s. So they're all the SR Pluses and long range cars. No performance cars because they are coming ex Fremont. And an interesting thing to look at is if you're actually looking for a Model 3, what Tesla seem to have done now is they're putting a lot of cars up as inventory, although they're not driven, they're just in transit. So it looks like they're actually sending dispatching more cars than they have orders for at various times, which is sort of quite interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of Model 3, my work mate Gerard, who joined in the background on the chat a couple of weeks ago, we took a performance Model 3 out from Osborne Park. Oh my goodness, I thought my car was fast. Now I realise it is not fast.
and Richard, the thing
Yeah.
was, there was no Tesla salesman to watch what you were doing. You were because in these COVID-aware times, it was an unsupervised test drive.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, woo, that thing can move. Yeah, I wasn't even going to drive it, but yeah, my mate Gerard was. Well, let's just say he lifts early. If you're not used to driving a Tesla, then yeah, yeah, well, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean that thing's got to be a second quicker to 100 than mine is. So yeah, I know. Yeah,
So
it must be probably. Rob, have you driven a Model 3 Performance, and how does it compare to your Performance S?
I haven't driven a Model 3 Performance, but it's exactly the same 0 to 100 time.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, which is why I've never wanted to drive your car, because then I'll look at mine and be sad. Sorry, Harold. What were you going to say?
I
was going to say, did your mate buy it?
Oh yes, that's what I was going to say. Did he order it?
So he actually is waiting for a Model Y Performance, which and it will take him a bit of time to save up. But well, to be fair, he is saving up, and it's all to do with his pension and stuff. But yeah, so no, he just he didn't want to wait to test drive a Performance Y yet. He thought he'd take the 3 Performance out, and it was a good excuse for me to go and see Osborne Park as well. So
as Ken and I are both acutely aware of, all you ever do when you reload Tesla's webpage on the Model Y is it just says stay updated.
Yeah.
Sadly so. Here's the inventory for Model 3.
Oh, wow.
So as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4,
17.
17.
22?
No, sorry, 3 4s are 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, 13, 14 Model 3s, but they are all long range or SR Pluses. But these are presumably all from Shanghai, and they all state that they're in transit. So none of them are sort of like local cars. And obviously there are no Model S's and no Model X's.
I thought I did see a couple of Model S's. Oh, in used, sorry.
Yes, used. There's one X that's just popped up, 2017. I wouldn't buy it, knowing it's a 2017, and a 2015 Model S, and that's it.
Oh, there was a white one as well that was a few grand cheaper. I think that must have gone straight away.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So there you go as far as inventory. So yeah, so the Model 3s, it looks like, well, all the standard range pluses and long ranges are just simply coming from Shanghai. It's as simple as that. But the good thing is, if you're keen on getting a Model 3, it looks like if you can color match, you can get them fairly quickly these days. They seem to be, like I said, basically dispatching more cars at that time than they have actual orders for, which is really good. You know,
kind of is quite a surprise to see the S and the X just getting absolutely no love at all, though, for willing buyers. It's perplexing, really.
Well, I think Elon did famously say that, you know, they're only really making S's and X's for sentimental reasons. Now that might be a little bit cliched, might be but then perhaps it might be exactly the way he feels, because they don't strictly meet Tesla's mission per se. Because
I mean,
they
are still profit-making vehicles, so you know,
yeah,
profit. Then
you know, we've seen images, video. Sorry, Colin.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to comment that I've had a Model X for about 5 weeks, and
congratulations!
Yeah, amazing machine.
Yes, it is. It's a Fabergé egg of cars. They are amazing, but unfortunately, Tesla has just abandoned the right-hand drive market as far as the new refresh versions. They are coming next year sometime, and that's just it.
Colin, did you get yours new?
You're on mute, Colin.
Sorry. Yes, I did get it new. Yes.
Oh, fantastic! So it must be one of the last of the prior current version Model X's. It looks like you were probably one of the last people to get it for 2022.
Yeah, beautiful red car.
Oh, best color.
Not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, being the last one.
I think it's a good thing, actually.
It's a really good thing because you get to drive it around instead of sitting and looking at a web page going,
exactly.
I can have one of those.
100%.
Yep. Because everything else is just vaporware until you have it in your hands. And at least you're going to have an extra year of enjoying your car than anyone else that's ordered an X in the meantime.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Good.
Absolutely.
Cool. So any other questions or comments? Actually, Colin, how's your car going in the last 5 weeks?
Yeah, I've been really thrilled with it. It's the first car that I've ever bought that on its own it can entertain people.
Yes, indeed.
I have got some sort of queries with full self-drive, which I don't quite understand. Not sure that I'm doing the right things to enable it, but
okay, well, just hang on 2 seconds. Carmen, we'll have a look at it in a sec. That's interesting. Yeah, we'll get to that. So Colin, what are your questions about your car?
You know, autopilot's fine, but I don't believe that I've actually truly engaged full self-drive as yet. And I don't quite understand why or what I'm not doing right.
Okay, well, firstly, full self-drive in the way that most people might think of it doesn't exist yet. Did you buy FSD as a option, the $10,000 option?
Yes.
Okay, so one thing, have you enabled traffic light stopping or stopping on red traffic lights?
Yes, I believe so.
So in other words, when you're on autopilot and there's a set of lights ahead of you, you'll get like a ding, and you have to then either press the accelerator, or if the lights are green, or pull back on your autopilot stalk to confirm that you're going to go through the intersection. Otherwise, it'll slow down and stop. Have you seen it do that?
Yes, I've seen it slow down and stop. I wasn't aware of pulling on the autopilot stalk to enable it to go through.
Yep. So what it does is, it doesn't do it all the time. If there is a car that's very close to you, in front of you, it will then effectively trust that that car knows what it's doing, and it won't require, you won't get the ding. So what you'll hear is like a ding noise, and
Yep.
You can actually put your foot down, but you've got to do it a fair bit to override. Or the quickest is just pull back your stalk momentarily, just one notch, and that will then sail through, unless of course the lights turn amber or red, in which case it'll just stop. So that the other thing you can do too is if you're in one lane, you want to change lanes, you don't have to actually steer. As long as you've got a little bit of weight on the steering wheel, you can then just flick your indicator and it will then automatically change lanes if there's space available to your right or left.
But most of the things you're talking about now are really autopilot.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, actually, no. That
I'm
feature,
really.
Yes, no. That feature is actually part of the FSD suite. So if you've only got autopilot, you can only get the auto lane change if you've paid for the FSD features. The point is FSD doesn't exist at the moment. So the best that Tesla can do is stop at traffic lights. It can stop.
Harold, the closest thing we've got to full self-drive right now is Navigate on Autopilot.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Ken.
So Navigate on Autopilot is a key part of the FSD suite. So when you're on freeways or larger divided roads, Tonkin Highway, it works on as well. You can enable Navigate on Autopilot, and it will do all of the lane changes and all of the acceleration, deceleration, and take entrances and exits for you. But at the moment, it will only do that on those roads where there's no need for other control or intersections or things like that. So Navigate on Autopilot, the full software suite is in beta in continental USA right now. There's about 50 or 60 people who have got it, mostly on Model 3s, but a couple of Model Xs. I'm imagining it might still be a little while before it makes its way to Australia as a product.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so Colin, you're sort of, you're in this grey zone of you haven't gotten all of you've paid for yet.
Yeah.
But it's coming and they are trying hard.
And it's looking really good, really good. We have to get James back on. I'll harass him sometime to get up early one morning and come and talk to us again.
Okay. Yeah, the guy, James that Ken is referring to is James Locke, who is now based in California.
Yep.
And he's got the FSD beta, and look, it's just freakish the way it drives. It's just amazing, and it's a really positive thing.
Yeah, it was very cool. Recently got together with another FSD beta guy in San Francisco, and they drove both their cars towards four-way stops simultaneously to see which one would twitch first. And it was kind of funny, you know. So they're kind of one of them would be really aggressive, and the other one would be a bit timid. And it wasn't always guaranteed which was going to be which, but because four-way stops are a bizarre thing. If you've ever driven in the States, they're a weird intersection.
That's in San Francisco, isn't it? They're just crazy. How do you just don't even know? Oh.
Yeah, and most of my favorite four-way stops in San Francisco are on really steep hills, so you can't actually see if anyone's coming or not. So the good thing about having a Tesla in those environments is you're always going to be quicker than everyone else off the line, so you just go. So you briefly stop and you just go, you know, and everyone else, and you know, people are used to it. They just they let you go. The problem is when there's two Teslas at the intersection at the same time, you know, then that's the problem. But look, FSD is looking really good, but it may be some time before we get it. That's, I guess, the key caveat.
Are you sort of thinking the middle of the year, the end of the year, next year? We're not sure.
It might be this year. It's probably going to push out further than that for our market, but it might be this year. I don't think they're planning a beta for countries outside the States. I think basically once they've done the beta testing that they need to do in the USA, they will just release it. And that will probably be software version 11, which as Elon and Andre Carpatho, and there's another guy who's on the team who I saw an interview with, basically it's a whole different software suite from the ground up. They've done a whole bunch of modeling, and the software that we're running, they hit a dead end and they can't actually make it any better. So they switched to a different software platform, and that one is bearing fruit. So once they've got through the beta testing, that will become version 11. And those of us that have already prepaid for FSD will get version 11 and it'll just start working, which is kind of weird. Now, there's regulatory issues. In Australia, it's likely that you'll still have to be sitting in the driver's seat, and from an insurance perspective, you'll still be responsible for it and blah, 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 blah. But that may change over time. And that's kind of a different problem to the software technical problem. But yeah. So look, I'm hoping we'll get it in 2021 sometime, but you know, all bets are off. We might even get a supercharger in 2021 as well.
Thanks for the comments, guys.
Come on, Elon, I know you're listening. You know.
It's only time. It's just time passes. Oh dear. Let's hope there's a supercharger in Perth before there's one on Mars. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, that's right. I'll take my Cybertruck on Mars with a supercharger. You know, that'll be fine.
So Jerry, anything else with your car? Sorry, Colin, anything else with your car charging quirks? Any other questions?
No, not really. I haven't had a chance to test it yet, but only yesterday I had one of the Zappi devices installed.
Cool.
Just for testing, you know, at installation, it seemed to do what it was supposed to do. So that seemed to work okay. It was 2,700 odd bucks to get it put in with all of the fruit, but
that's cool.
Yeah, there we go. The only other comment I have, and it's a little bit hard to describe, is going through a T intersection with 2 lanes going in my direction, 2 lanes the other way, 2 out and 2 in from the side road, and the side road has a curved line from the centre lane round to and the Tesla veers to the left. It sounds like it's a known problem.
Yep. So you're going to be really good if you watch what your car does at predicting where it's going to do this. So if there are any of those little dotted guidelines when you've got 2 lanes turning at an intersection, you will know for sure that your car is just going to sniff it, and it will wrongly presume that that dotted line, say it's going to the left, is actually your right lane marker, and it's just going to go boom and turn left, and it's just going to do that all day, every day. There's
on my drive to work down Thomas Street, there's 2 of those, one at Aberdare Road and another one at Monash Avenue, and every time, although the last few times it hasn't actually left the lane, it's just done a solid twitch before it's jumped back. But yes, there's always a risk that it will just suddenly decide to jump into the left lane. You got to watch those. I suspect that's a uniquely Australian road marking foible. For basically those, exactly as you described, T junctions with both lanes turning. The road standard is there should be a dotted line in there to stop people drifting across into the wrong lane, because West Australia.
It's a pretty dangerous thing, to be quite honest, but you're not used to it. Yeah.
Yes, you need to be aware. As long as you're aware, you can quite quickly respond. But you'll come to learn where it's going to do it, and you'll just have your hands
after the second time, you soon learn.
Absolutely. One classic location is Manning Road, going west, and here this visualization isn't very good, but it's basically 2 lanes going through a traffic light intersection, and basically you're going.
Satellite, Harold.
Sorry. Oh,
Switch
yes.
to satellite. Bottom left.
Oh, sorry, yes. So there's traffic lights there, and what happens is the car, rather than turning right, will actually not know. It sort of splits the difference. To the car, it looks like a Y, and it basically wants to reef you straight into this corner, and it will do it all day, every day, if you're in the left-hand lane, all day, because there are these dotted guidelines. But if you're in the left lane, it will just go, I don't know what to do, and you'll end up basically right there. And it does it all day, every day, and it's done it for 2 years. So this is what it looks like when you're actually driving. So you're literally, the car should just turn gently to the right. It's got a nice dotted guideline here, and it ends up going, no, I want to be right here. And that's what happens all day, every day.
I see in your future, Harold, a whole bunch of videos with full self-drive, testing your self-driving through that intersection.
Oh dear. Actually, I have got, I've only got about 2 YouTube videos on my own personal channel. And one was, if you actually go further back, how do you go back off this? Back to here. When, you know, Manning Road off-ramp had, oh, how do you go into, how do I go here, Ken? There we go. There's all concrete barrier. Whoops, oh, it's swapped over. Anyway, you're on the other side. Imagine you're on the other side. And I've let autopilot go round this bend to where the actual ultrasonics go red on the side of the car. And it just sort of makes it. And the wing mirror is actually above that concrete barrier. So it's only an inch or so from the concrete.
There's lots of black marks on that concrete barrier. So some people haven't made it in some cars.
Yes, sorry, I actually didn't have my share screen on. So it's just here, sorry. So there's a concrete barrier on Manning Road. Sorry, I didn't have the share screen. But yes, so there are quite a few marks around this corner. And yeah, it's good fun. But yes, Colin, you will learn the foibles of your car. Sometimes it sort of drives like a 15-year-old distracted learner, where it gets distracted with lane markings and goes, oh, I should go here. But fullness of time, every time you get a new software update, you might get different behavior. Or you might get 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But
thanks for the comments. Now it's good to know that I'm not on my own. But yeah, and you soon learn these things. Yeah.
And Tesla do say, I guess fairly rightly so, they keep stressing that even though it's been around for 3 years now or 4 years, autopilot still is beta, so it should be considered experimental. Yep. You know, eventually it will stop being that, but it is interesting.
I reckon 98% of the time it's a dream to have. Yeah.
Yes. And it has got limitations as well. So if you've got like a really, really tight sort of cloverleaf on-ramp, again, there's one, I think off Centennial Avenue or Centennial Road going onto Leach Highway. It's a very tight bend. Sometimes it'll just give up and sort of start driving straight sort of towards the curb. So you just got to be aware of a few of those foibles. Yeah. But as you probably already know, Colin, if you're on the freeway and stop traffic, it's just the most relaxing thing you could ever be in, because everyone else is all stressed out and you're just sitting back relaxed, you know, enjoying the view.
Yeah.
And it doesn't handle sharp corners very well at all. We've got a road around here in the back streets of Baldivis. The speed limit is 70, but there's a couple of corners that you have to take at 40 or 50. And the car doesn't slow down. It just gets around them on the wrong side of the road and screams at you.
Actually, I've had it. I don't know if you guys have had the similar thing. On ordinary autopilot, I've been able to go on Manning Road to go on freeway going north, and it will maintain the speed limit of 60 until you tell it to go to 100 as you're just about to merge. But if you use Navigate and Autopilot, for some reason it goes, oh, cool, I'm halfway around the bend, I can do 100 now. So it actually arbitrarily chooses that this on-ramp has got a speed of 100, even though it hasn't.
Yes, I've noticed that. It goes to 100 or 110, whilst it's still in the 60 or 70 zone on just about every on-ramp if I've got the auto drive on.
Yeah, Navigate and Autopilot, yes. Yeah. Oh, and also, Colin, it may do some silly things such as it may use the wrong indicator. Like if you got a 2-lane on-ramp, which eventually merges to be a single lane, it will start, and you're in the right lane of that on-ramp, it will then put the left indicator on for like ages, like several hundred, well, 100 or 200 meters before it merges. And sometimes it'll leave that indicator on, even though you're actually merging to the right, eventually, you know, onto say a highway or freeway. So there's a couple of little foibles where sometimes it's easy just to click off autopilot and just drive on TAC, which is the cruise control, just so that you don't have sort of, you know, I guess you call it embarrassing turn signals that sort of make your car look silly or the driver look a bit silly.
Do you find that's when you're driving along on the freeway and there's a merging lane from the left and there's a car or two in it, it'll slow down hefty. So I just basically get in the right lane or just go onto TAC because it can get a bit embarrassing.
Actually, something that's been happening with some more recent software versions is my car has been slowing down because a car to the 5 o'clock position behind me or coming alongside is approaching me. And for some reason my car turns it white rather than gray. Oh, sorry, that's on my visualization. I think on the Model 3s, it might be slightly different.
It's a dark gray instead of a light gray.
So dark means it's interesting?
Yes.
Right. So then it highlights it. So yeah, if I keep it to neutral terms, it highlights the car. Normally it should highlight a car that might be a threat in front of you, such as if there's a merging lane coming, you know, merging towards you, and there's a car that's kind of level with you or slightly ahead of you, it should highlight it as a potential threat and perhaps slow down so that you can merge. My car has quite often highlighted a car that's actually slightly behind, like a fair bit behind and approaching from behind, and actually then slowing down. And it's like, why are you slowing down to like 80 in a 100 zone? And it's because there was a car that's slowly approaching behind or to the side, but behind. So it does do a few weird things where sometimes you then just have to put your foot down on the accelerator and push through that sort of behavior. But, you know, it's a moving feast, and it's, you know, every time you see that little alarm clock, that yellow alarm clock on your screen, you go, yippee, I've got a new update, and you never quite know what you're going to get. But it's all good.
One of the things that really amazed me was that the way it reads temporary speed signs on the side of a road.
Yes.
That blew my mind. I didn't expect it to be able to do that.
It's been missing quite a few recently in the last week or so. You know, these, you know, you're going down from 100 to 80, you're driving right past a big temporary 80 sign and it completely ignores it and carries on at 100.
Nigel, is this a LED sign?
No, no, it's the
the main roads.
Yeah, it's not the LED ones that are up on the, like above the smart freeway.
Oh yes, it doesn't do them, but it still does the train stop signs, train red lights.
And the other thing is, it saw a 40 sign. I'm doing in 80 coming up to some traffic lights. It went through them, but there was a 40 sign on the side road, and it slowed down to 40. And I go, you stupid bloody car.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's so many edge cases. It obviously missing. Yeah, and actually, you're right, because what the frustration there is, it doesn't actually accept that the speed limit's gone back up again until it either goes through a different speed zone on the map, or it actually optically sees like another speed sign that's different to the 40.
Yes, I went through some roadworks a couple of days ago, and it went, 80, 60, 40, but then there was nothing, no roadworks, and they'd still covered up the 80 sign. It had got the cloth over it, and I'm doing 42 because I set it 5% over. I'm going, this is not right. So I went up to 80, but of course, when you do that, you can't put it on autopilot until it sees an 80 sign, which was about 2 k's down the road.
Yes, you can, can't you? Can you go to a designated speed and then set autopilot? Irrelevant of what the speed signs are seen on the road?
Not always.
No, not in single carriageways. Dual carriageways you can, but not on single lane.
Right, that's interesting.
Well, not on mine. It will not do it.
I've never worked out there was that sort of definition, but that's
No,
plausible.
I mean, I can set the cruise control with the one
Yes,
tap, but
yes.
if I want to do 2 taps, it will go, no, speed limit's 40.
Then you can just dial it up with your thumb wheel, can't you?
And it says
Yes.
not allowed.
Yep,
It comes
that's
up
right.
with a warning across it.
Oh, okay, it's different to my car.
No, Richard, it's the same. There are certain places where you can exceed the speed limit by as much as you like, basically, but there are other road types or definitions that are mysterious where you cannot. The only way you can do it is to change the speed offset under the autopilot settings.
It's to do with single lane and dual lane or more carriageways. When you've got 2 or 3 or 4 lanes, you can do whatever speed you like and it will do it on autopilot. But a single lane carriageway, it will not.
Interesting. Hey, Carmen, a little while ago you were showing us
Yes.
the lid of your pit.
Yes, I am. I can show you. Can you see?
A bit blown out.
Yes.
that work? Does that work?
It looks like checker plate. Yes.
Yes.
And it's got handles or something on it.
Yeah, it's divided into 5 sections.
Oh, God.
Oh, right. Just try and hold it a little bit closer. No, closer to the camera, to the right.
Then your screen bright.
To the left, sorry. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Right, yeah, you can see the sections there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might be 6.
I said, yeah, could be.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So they lift up. Otherwise, it's too heavy. And
Yeah.
it's very deep.
And it's
So-
and it's got a ladder, has it? So there's no steps. It's got a ladder.
It's just got a ladder. So it's a bit like a grave. And it's 1.9 deep so that you can stand under the car.
Yeah, wow.
Fill it in and put concrete on top of it, Carmen.
Yep. Sounds like it, doesn't it? It's a real nuisance. It stands up at 10 mil. So everything gets caught on there.
Yep.
But the idea is that you can wash it. You can wash the garage without the water going in the pit.
Yes, without flooding it.
Yeah.
Look,
yeah.
for people who were amateur mechanics, that would have just been a heaven. Like that's just the ultimate thing to have. You know, everyone hankered to get a pit installed.
Yeah.
No doubt at great expense.
Yeah.
But it's like a swimming pool, isn't it? There are
But
people.
nobody uses them now, do they?
No, you
No,
just-
because you can buy a 4-poster hoist
Or
for
a
$3.5 grand.
Or a scissor lift jack like I had on my Lotus, and you just park over the top of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Move it around, and it's great.
Yep. Yep.
So in case anybody needed it, maybe I could just remove the side bit that sticks up and put, so it'd have to be heavier than timber, I suppose, but I could put a flush panel or timber.
But it might fill with water, as you say.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And has it got a drain? Do you know in the bottom of the pit?
No drain. It's fully
Sealed.
sealed with black tar or whatever, and then painted. And it's got lights in it as well.
Oh, it's just ideal. It's just the ultimate home mechanics. Look, Carmen, just when you go to just sell your place and go, this is the mechanics nirvana. Like it's got a
Yes.
pit, you know, it's got lights in it, disco lights, you know. Oh,
In
It's
fact,
just
if you
ideal.
turn those lights off and fill it with water, then you've got a spa. I mean, it's
I have a pool with a waterfall.
you've got two.
So what I'll do, I'm waiting to hear. I like where I live, but it is a newish home, and next door there's a developer wanting to put 4 stories. So I've spent the whole year going to court to stop him, and I'm waiting for a decision from the Judge Parry at SAT, the State Tribunal, to see what the outcome is. I'm happy to have development as long as it's 2-story, but anything over 2-story, no, because I'll get shadowed, overviewed, and also my solar panels will die.
Yeah, unfortunately, solar panels don't have any rights to the sun. Like there's no protection of sunlight onto panels, onto your roof. They just don't have that sort of law. And I guess for practical reasons, because even a 2-story house can overshadow, or trees. So
Yeah.
you could say environmentally, solar panels are great, but then perhaps also, well, not perhaps, I guess also trees are good too for the environment, but they're often clashing with each other.
Now, in this case, it has been ruled, and we spent 6 hours on solar panels with all the experts in court, and there is no way around it. And the city were encouraging to have solar for environmental reasons. So that's one of the issues that is considered negative from the point of view of building higher, apart from the codes and all of that. But I've applied so that my street has a policy by the City of Netherlands to have 2-story maximum height, or 10 meters. And I got that through, but it's still only a policy, it's not law.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, I've applied for the zoning to be changed from, this was R10, it went to R20, which is when I built. And then now it's gone to R80, and I'm trying to get it changed to R30. But that has to go to WAPC, and there's very small chance of that happening, because I'm in a shopping centre precinct. It's a neighbourhood shops,
So,
not a real shopping centre, just the neighbourhood street shops.
so if you could get the zoning changed to R160, and
No,
then,
no, not R160. Oh,
no, I'm just saying, if you got the zoning changed to R160, and then spoke to the developer, he could just give you $10 million for your land, and you're just cashing out, and then you just go somewhere else.
Well, it's actually 160, 3 doors away from me. So eventually that would be good, but not now. And the problem is that my block is subdivided, so it's half of a 1/4 acre, which means for a developer to use it, he has to buy 2, and the 2 would sell, but they're brand new ones.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't make sense. Yes, that's
it
right.
doesn't make sense, because they would have to pay 6 million compared to 2.5 that is paid for next door.
Yeah, that's right, because the houses are in the incorrect phase of existence.
Yes.
Because they're overcapitalized.
Yes.
So you've got to let them depreciate, which every house does quite quickly. They need to depreciate, or you need to go to a zoning of 160 or 320, or have 30. If you had a 30-story building on your block, but no one cares about the land cost.
Yes.
So
well, there is in Waratah Avenue, which is the main road, the main street in the area. There is the first block of apartments that are 5-story, and that's a problem. So eventually, eventually it probably will flow through. But my point is you have to wait 10 or 20 years for that to be useful, because the city are negligent in allowing me to build when if they knew that there was a potential of changing the zoning to high infill.
Yeah, but I dare say that local governments, they say, well, this is our planning scheme at the time, and it's subject to change.
Yes.
The same thing's happened in Applecross, you know, where they've actually got a policy either side of Canning Bridge to go quite high density and quite high developments. I mean, you look at the Raffles Hotel, which Lockhall was at a casual meetup a couple of months ago.
Yep, I was there.
It looks really short compared to the Sabina and the other developments near it. And I do remember when they first built that, they actually had a crane with a flag on it to indicate what the height would be, to try and reassure residents that it wasn't going to be, you know, like the R&I Tower or whatever. But these days, you know, the Raffles is actually short. It's the shortest one.
Yeah.
And all the others now are taller.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, things change.
Unfortunately, Perth is being designed by developers funded by donations, basically.
Well, it's the same as local governments famously have real estate agents or developers on the, you know, that try to get in to have a bit of influence and things like that. But getting back to like a Tesla type sort of energy thing, yeah, there is that dichotomy between higher density, which is sort of possibly better for the environment because you're not sprawling out and you know, clearing natural vegetation. But then you also can't get solar. You can't have solar on tall buildings. Well, you can.
No, there's nothing good about very high density. If you look at the European model, which is what we should be following, rather than the Asian model, you know, it's taken thousands of years they basically wait until they've run out of land, and we've got a lot of land. And if you look at Paris, Madrid, London, well, not so much London, but Rome, it's 5 stories max in the city. We don't need towers, and from a health point of view, they're not good. Too many.
Yeah, true. Yeah, a lot of the European countries are European cities. Yeah, you're right. They're about 5 stories, and in fact, that was probably more a function of, in those days, they didn't have lifts. So, you know, the expensive parts of the buildings were the ground floor and first floor, because you had to walk up less stairs.
Yeah. Yes.
And the cheap rooms or dwellings were on the top.
Yeah.
But I mean, now that's reversed.
Yeah.
But interesting. Yeah, very.
Yeah, we don't quite need them. But anyway, it's a big issue because they've just approved 23 stories in Stirling Highway, where the Chellingworth site was.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So there is a huge problems associated. And I'm in a group called People for Responsible Development, and that's not considered responsible. So we don't object to all development, just some seems inappropriate and premature.
Cool. So that almost sounds like you need someone like me speaking at the end of it, going that this announcement was authorised by whatever on behalf of the Responsible Development Group.
Yes, just about. Yeah, so
cool.
I have to, I suppose I have to make a decision, a long term, of what I'm going to do. And I'm waiting for the SAT decision to see whether I really need to put more money into here or not.
Well, everyone's bought and sold houses.
Oh yeah, I've done 8.
Yeah, sometimes you buy a house and you think, oh, this is awesome, I'm just going to be here forever, until you see a better one around the corner or somewhere else. And that's human nature, isn't it? So
human nature. I actually like building, so I I build and sell within 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've done that a few times, and that's worked for me.
Cool.
So I'm not anti doing that again, but I actually do like it here.
Cool. Actually, what's interesting is you're behind you. Is that glass that's got a like? How are they fish?
Yes.
Over your shoulder.
It's a little electric panel. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Oh, there. Yeah. And it's just a aluminium cutout with a light underneath it.
Yes.
For decoration over a little pond.
So it's like a silhouette. So it's basically silhouetting a backlit panel, like a perspex thing. It's backlit, right? Yeah.
Yeah, cool. It's just made out of aluminium with a blue light behind it to match the pool lighting.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah.
It works. The kids like it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So you never know. I might have to do it all again. But so I was going to say, what you could do if you build again is Tesla solar roof. No, solar roof is coming to Australia, so you might be able to get the they've already done it. Karratha Shopping Centre is fully solar. They've just built. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, what I mean is the solar roof. So Tesla's actual glass tiles. So Karratha hasn't done that. They've got solar panels.
Oh, okay.
But Tesla actually, they have an option, not like the standard panels that you put on top of a roof.
Yeah.
This is actually, the tiling is the solar panels.
Yeah, I think that's what they've done in Karratha, but check it out.
Oh, okay.
It's either, I think it's Karratha. Yes, not Port Hedland.
Yep.
No, it can't be. It's not Karratha. I've done an investment nearby in one of the other shopping centres. It could be Tom Price.
Yep.
Somewhere up north, one of the shopping centres have done it, and that would be cool. And I would be right into that. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah. Until someone puts a 5-story building next to it and then racks it.
Well, yes. So we have to. We're still waiting on confirmation of the scheme, but whilst we've got the current government, is not promising.
Well, governments come and go, and policies change, but
Yes, no. There are certain people that want this to look like Rockingham.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to wait and see, but there's potential.
Cool.
But I can't build without selling, so I have to sell, rent, build. That's what I do. So I've moved 18 times.
All right, wow. So just as well that you know a good real estate agent that can do all those transactions.
Yeah. Yes. It works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so no more mechanics pits.
No, but like I said, that could be if you wanted to flip your house, that could be an interesting. It's probably like a swimming pool. If that they don't add value or take value away, because if you like a pool, you go, well, it's got a pool, that's great. If you don't like a pool, well, it's not really an asset. So yeah, the pit could be one way or the other.
Yes.
If you're going to sell, you just leave it as it is, because then the next person can always decide to fill it.
What to do with it.
What to do with it. Yeah, exactly. But cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So anything else that might be Tesla related or anything?
Do you, well, my brother-in-law asked me if, how can you see the front cameras, the cameras on the front? And I said, well, can't you see through the windscreen? But he said, no, you put cameras, the car's got cameras in the front. So he wanted to know how how you could turn them on.
So, well, sorry, do you mean with dash cam where it sees the front footage, or do you mean if you're parking in a really tight space, like up to a wall, you wanted to see how far away you were?
Yes. Yeah.
Right, because there are some other car manufacturers or other car models, not Tesla, that have a camera on the grille or on the bumper or near the bumper of the car. Of course,
Yes.
Tesla doesn't have that, so
Okay.
so you don't get that. But the good thing of Tesla is with the ultrasonics, you do get it's a virtual image of the car, and it shows you that barrier. It sort of turns green to orange or yellow to red.
Doesn't it also give you the actual distance in
Yes.
centimeters?
The closest.
And I think if you do an auto drive summon or come to me, you can say 20 centimeters gap, please, and it'll move up to about 20 centimeters.
Oh, can you?
Yes, so that's a substitute. So in one sense, having a camera is okay, but you've got to actually optically look to see and judge the distance. Whereas with the ultrasonics on the screen, in fact, it gives you the beeps, and then when it touches about 30 centimeters or just under, it'll then say stop. So, which you can still get going if you want, but it just says stop. So that's probably just as safe. But it's funny you mentioned cameras, because with the
well, in the garage, it works really well because you're going slow and you're going up to the wall, and it gives you the measurements, and you decide where you're going to park, 50 or 70 centimeters. But if you're on the street and say parallel parking, and there is something like one post, or there is a tree guard, then it doesn't.
It'll do a post when you're going backwards. So if there's a bollard at a shopping centre, it'll actually pick it out and show you, and it sort of graphically describes it as it's like a lump that sort of comes down. It doesn't exactly know how thick it is because it's guessing. But you're right, if you're parallel parking and you're swinging, it might not necessarily show like if you're swinging this way and there's an object like that, it might not necessarily show it or detect it. So that's a bit of a risk. But your cameras, you do see the rear view camera, the side rear looking cameras when you're in reverse. If you press the witch's hat icon, right? So
where is that?
Just beneath, just where your image of the rear camera is. So when you go in reverse, is this right, guys? Is this Nigel?
Yeah. So it's what I do when I'm driving into my garage. I put the rear view mirror camera on, and then I can see that my car's in enough so the garage door can come down. And then when you're looking at the rear view, if you scroll from the bottom of the screen, just swipe up, it brings up the two side repeaters looking back as well.
Oh,
so that then you can see you've got a picture on top, which is your rear view, and two smaller pictures below, which are the side repeaters.
So that's the left and right cameras looking backwards from where your indicators are near your front tires.
Okay. So you're dring forward.
You can actually turn the camera on, the reverse camera, the little round sort of thing, lens looking thing on the touch screen. You hit that and the rear view camera will come on, and it will stay on till you turn it off. And if you swipe up, you get extra two screens below that, which is the side cameras. And then you can swipe it back down and they go, and you just get the bigger rear view picture.
Oh, okay. Driving into the garage is not a problem because I've worked out how many centimeters I have to park to miss the roller door and whatever else.
Yep.
And that works. But it's when I'm out parking in the street, parallel parking.
Have you
I'm just
tried?
wondering, what did you use before we had cameras and ultrasonics? I just drove into a parking spot.
We were all younger.
Yes, we were.
We're all better coordinated.
What you need, Elon's promising a helicopter view if you've got full self-driving as an update.
Ooh, when did he do that?
A few months ago, he promised that.
Yeah, that was said to be coming next year, which is now.
Because I
But
think, is it Audis or Mercedes have that, where they've got the top-down view?
yeah, look, I had that on my Outlander Fev.
Yeah.
So that for that, Carmen, it'll basically show you with all the cameras on. It'll show you like a virtual, as if you're looking
Helicopter view.
5 meters
Yep.
above your car, and you see all
Yep.
the surrounds.
Mm.
Because the computer adjusts all the distortions, so you can see all the objects around you. Which, yeah, that'd be quite awesome. Really,
Yes.
that would be awesome.
But
Come
how
on,
cool.
Elon.
You've got to have full self-driving to do that at the moment.
Ah, right. Yes, to get that feature.
Yep.
Which most of us have got, except for Carmen. I
Yes. Well,
think.
I've asked Sydney about that, if they'd like to gift it to me. In view
Yeah.
of the
And
fact
I
that
want to
paid
win
too
Lotto
much.
as well.
No, but it was in view of the fact that I paid too much, or they dropped the price a few days after I got my car. But they haven't replied yet. There's still hope.
I'm sure they're still considering your email very
Yeah.
carefully.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Before it goes in the bin.
Yes, exactly.
Dear.
Yes.
So,
Oh,
Colin,
well.
you've got all this stuff to look forward to, mate.
Yeah.
Actually, one feature request that would be good is, as Nigel said, when you swipe up, or on the Model X, Colin, you just press the witch's hat icon on the lower left part of the rear view camera view. What would be good is if you're going in forward, that's great for reverse. If you're going forwards, they should actually turn the pillar front looking cameras on, the
Yes.
side fronts, because that
Yes.
would be really useful when you're turning into something. You can then see what's at your corners.
Yes.
To be a lot better.
Yep.
And that would be a killer. And it's so simple. If you're in reverse, it does the repeaters, which is backwards.
Yep.
And if you're in forward, in drive, it should do the pillar cameras looking forwards. And that would be
Yes.
awesome. You know.
Yes.
But
Anyway, I'm off. I'll see you guys.
What it was.
Oh, next Wednesday is somewhere. Which hotel was it?
the Rosemount,
Where is that?
Beaufort, corner of Beaufort Street, and the street that Scarborough Beach Road ends up being once it's fit, Angove or something.
Go, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yep, the
Okay.
Rosemount. So that's
Yeah.
next
Look,
Wednesday.
but I
from-
live down Rockingham Way. Can't we have one down here?
Yes, we can.
Then you lot can come down.
Yes, we can one day take a number and we'll work it out.
We'll have,
I'll
we'll
take-
have multiple charges set up so we can get home.
Yeah, well, maybe. There is one behind the dome in
Yes.
Rockingham, and it's all free.
And I hear that that's going to be a fast DC charge.
Yeah, Gemtech have said that they've been told that they're going to get the job to change it, but they said that a year ago,
Right.
and it's not happened so far.
So it's coming
So-
soon.
Yes, I reckon we'll get that when we get a Tesla supercharger.
Oh, don't
in-
say that, because that could be forever.
Hey,
Yeah,
speaking of
but
super-
I like these little 11 kilowatt free chargers. I can go and stick in 20% battery in an hour and have a coffee. And
Oh, I've figured out I go and play golf and I just drain it down to 20%, go and play golf and it's full when I get back. It's awesome. That's changed everything. Hey, when's the supercharger down south going to be open? Where's it, Kojonup or Williams or something?
It's at Williams at the Woolshed, and it's been promised for
year.
Q3.
And is that going to be V2 or V3?
Don't know. Someone there's
Okay.
a couple of problems. Tesla likes to have redundancy on their superchargers. So if one unit fails, there's another one to back up. So if you look at Eaton, there are six stalls, but they're in three pairs.
Yeah.
So in that case, they've got double redundancy. If one fails, sorry, two can fail, and they've still got one DC unit to supply two stalls. Now, that's one issue. Oh, sorry, that's what the V2, the standard supercharger does. The V3s are a 1 megawatt unit, DC unit. So they actually power 4 stalls. So to get redundancy, they'd have to put an 8-stall supercharger at Williams. And you can argue whether that's appropriate or not, or whatever. The other issue is that the V3 superchargers are, see you, Nigel. The V3 superchargers are only CCS and not the, let's call it type 2 format. So you've got some older cars that haven't upgraded, haven't paid the $380 that it is now to upgrade their cars to get the adapter. Now, as a club, we have approached Tesla and said, look, don't worry about those owners because they're not going to care. And if they do care, they can just cough up the $380. Or even if you just gave it to them for $200 or just did it for free, it's a lot cheaper doing that and better to have one system that's unified. So, but the issue is if it's V3, they'll doing Tesla's policy, they'll have to have 8 stalls and also accept that some cars can't use it. So I fear, look, I hope it's a V3 because then the Model 3s can charge at up to 250 kilowatts, which would be awesome. And S's and X's, the new S's and X's can as well. Colin, yours can do 200 kilowatts, which is approaching 800 kilometers per hour charging. So it's really fast charging. For you, Richard, you'd get the 250, so you'd be super fast. And Carmen, you'd get high 100s, I think, being the standard range plus. But I fear, and the other thing is Tesla are making their own superchargers before Delta was making it for them. But in Shanghai, they've just finished a factory that's going to build 10,000 stalls per annum. And bearing in mind that Tesla only has 20,000 stalls on Earth, so they can do half of the current installed base each year. But yeah, I fear middle ground would be good. 1 V3, so 4 stalls of V3 and 2 stalls of
V2.
version 2, which is a great compromise because the cars that can't really take the faster speed can go on the slower one or whatever, and you've got redundancy. But look, I guess time will tell, and let's hope that it's like another. Well, it should be about 6 months away. You know.
Well, that's good.
But unfortunately, in the next 2 years, all that's been slated for is Perth and Williams. So, of course, for going down to Albany, it would be better if it was Kojonup, because you want to basically leave home sort of fullish, go all the way to Kojonup when you're sort of more empty, and then just do a quick top up, not necessarily to 80%, but even to 60%, and then get to Albany and then carry on.
Yes.
When you go from Albany, it'll be good because you can be sort of fairly fullish and be quite depleted by the time you get to Kojonup and just do a splash and dash, to Williams, and do a splash and dash. So you just go from, say, 30% up to 60% and then get to Perth and then charge for, 25 cents a kilowatt hour at home rather than.
I guess it's only a question of time. Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's a 2-year time frame for Perth and Williams. So unless Tesla decides, hopefully, to put a charger in Kojonup, Geraldton, Merredin, Southern Cross, Albany, Ravensthorpe, Esperance, and Kalgoorlie.
And what's
maybe Northland.
what's RAC doing about it?
RAC,
The electric highway.
yes. Well, as we know, Tokwa fixed their electric highway, so we gave them the solution for their aging circuit control unit, so they work on all Teslas. I don't know if they have installed, or they definitely are going to install a charger at Pemberton at their resort. That's a 50 kilowatt charger. Oh, and Cohen, you weren't here before, but they've got 2 350 kilowatt ultra fast chargers at Wellington Street, which have now finally been commissioned and put onto the ChargeFox app.
Yes, the ChargeFox sent a notice.
An email, yes.
I saw that,
yes.
yeah.
I think that was yesterday they sent it. And
Yes.
it went live a couple of days ago.
Yes.
So that's great. That's 40 cents a kilowatt hour, which is less than Tesla. So Tesla at Eaton charge
Yes.
50 cents, I think, roughly.
Yeah.
So say that again, Richard?
48, I think.
Oh, 48. Okay, cool. So and the RAC ones are 40 cents.
Yes. I don't need it in Perth because I work from home.
Yeah,
So,
you just charge.
So I put it on, I charge it. It works perfectly. There's no problem.
Exactly. And if you're working from home, or you've got a charger at your workplace, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And it's cheap. And if it's on solar, it's basically free. So cool. Hey guys, it's getting a bit late.
Yes.
Might be a good time to wrap up. Welcome, Colin, to ask us anything. Feel free to come back anytime, except for next Wednesday, obviously, because we'll be at the Rosemount.
Yeah.
But every other Wednesday, we'll be back here at 7:30, and hope everyone stays safe. For those watching at home, shout out to Joe, Damon, with the Watermelon Red Model X, Dragon X. Thanks for watching in small lumps. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and everyone have a wonderful week. Look forward to seeing you perhaps next week at the Rosemount, and look after yourselves and enjoy your Christmas.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Take care. Cheers.
Thank you and bye-bye.